One question we received asks, do we always have to be seeking God in order to hear him?
No. Once again, and I appreciate you asking the question, but then I want you to hear the question. I want all of us to hear the question. Do I always have to be seeking God in order to hear him? What have you done? Because we all do it. You made it me centered. I appreciate the question. It's a wonderful question, but we have to elevate it and look at really what is the question really is. Or do I have to pray for the Lord to move in my life? The Lord does not need your prayers. You should pray, but don't think you have to. It's not primarily about you. So even if you don't pray, the Holy Spirit is praying for you. Yeshua is interceding for you day and night. So, yes, we should pray. We should study. But even in our study, it's not based on our study that we grow in the Word. It's based on the revelation and the impartation of truth that comes as the Holy Spirit meets us in study. So, no, we don't have to seek the Lord to hear from him. We just have to be connected. I gave you the illustration of having a backpack filled with M80s. They are on time release. What do you have to do for them to blow your backside up? Just keep the backpack. Christ is the backpack. If you drop the backpack, if you don't have the backpack, you won't get blown up. If you got the backpack, bam! Good God Almighty. Bam! Good. Whew, there he went again. Bam! So the Spirit of God speaks to me like dynamite, dunamis, from which we get the word dynamite. It speaks to me like dynamite that's down in my soul. Every once in a while, it just explodes. So whether I seek him or not, the reality of him being there is that he explodes within me. And if you ask the people who were standing around on the track yesterday, when I finished talking to them, I finished talking to them and I blew up. The Spirit of God in me blew up on them. When I walked away, one of them said, "Mic drop." They said, he's just going to drop the mic and walk away. They were left there, standing there, some of them with their phones out, others trying to catch their breath, because the explosive dunamis dynamite in me blew up on them. The internal witness and the external demonstration, it's not me based. It's not me centered. It's not me dependent. I give, but if I didn't give, God would still get done what he gets done. I give because I want to cooperate with his plan and be a part of what he's doing. I pray, but if I didn't pray, God's will would still be done. I pray because I want to cooperate and be a part of his plan. So it to never be considered like I have to in order for God to, because God said, I'll make a rock cry out. Tell me what the rock did. The rock just being a rock. God said, I'm so much bigger than you. Your view of me is too small. You have no idea. You think an atomic bomb is powerful? You have no idea what you're dealing with. I don't need you to do anything for my will to be done. It's more fun for you. It's better for you. It's healthy for you if you cooperate. But even if you don't, I can take you and snap you in pieces. So let us never think that what God is doing is dependent upon what we're doing. Because that's a me centered gospel. And it's not about us. I hope that helped you. I hope I'll help everybody who is listening. What else do we have?
Hello, Pastor John.
Hi. First of all, I don't know if I can get a greeting. Hello. Thank you very much for greeting me. I appreciate that. I hope all is well with you and your family.
I have a 19-year-old son who needs help. He is not saved. He is suffering from severe anxiety, paranoia, and panic attacks. Can you please help us? Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. So, um, your son is living 3 levels: um, love, law, lawless. Life, health, unhealth. Three levels. So in the realm of the kingdom, which is a realm of love, is a realm of life, is a realm of health, is one reality for the believer who is walking out in agreement with God's plan for his life. Drop down, there's another level. That's the lawful realm. Okay, that's law. That's being healthy. That's being being able to be functional. Okay, and then there are lawful people. You drop down another level, and there's lawless, and that's people who are dealing with and experiencing unhealth, dysfunction, lawlessness, destructive behavior. You don't have to have a spiritual reality to help someone go from lawless to lawful. You don't have to have a spiritual encounter for someone to go from unhealthy to healthy. You can get somebody to stop being destructive, stop cutting yourself, stop acting out, stop, being a person who is hard to get along with. You don't have to bring them into the kingdom for that. So it's not necessarily a God reality. There are people who are atheists who live very healthy, very lawful, very balanced lives. The issue is they're not God connected, so they're not truly empowered to come into the freedom that they would experience if they were, in fact, connected to God. But they can be in a place where they're not cutting themselves in their room at night. Because part of that is just being unhealthy. It's not knowing how to deal with pain, not knowing how to deal with stress, not knowing how to deal with uncertainty, not knowing how to deal with feeling powerless. And so those things, when we feel those ways, it's emotion driven. And when we feel those things, if we don't have a proper, healthy mechanism for dealing with those things, then we deal with them in an unhealthy way. Sometimes it's chemically connected. And so psychiatry would be helpful for that person to have something medically done so that they can get control of the chemical imbalance and be able to make a rational decision for their life. Sometimes it's that they just don't know. It can come from counseling would help. Some kind of life coaching, something like that, where they can work with someone to develop and identify strategies that they can use for dealing with their anxiety. Years ago, there was a movie called Aquila and the Bee, and the young girl who was in the spelling bee would have trouble sometimes spelling, and they gave her a little mnemonic device where she would grab the seam of her pants and she would sort of tap, and as she tapped, she could spell out the word. Well, that was a mechanism that they gave her so that she could quiet her mind and be able to focus on the task at hand. Some of you may have seen that movie. Others of us have other mnemonic devices. And there are things that your son perhaps could learn, perhaps could be prescribed if his challenges are not medical, for which he should get medical help. But if his challenges are emotional, then emotions can be managed. And it can be managed through strategies. What do I do when I'm feeling angry? And can I develop a strategy that that gives me a healthy response to my anger? Not having a healthy response to my anger, I'm going to act out. That anger is not the problem. It's not having a healthy response to my anger that's the problem. So I become angry and I become destructive. And that's what takes me to the low level living. So for your son, him being saved or not saved is separate and apart from him being dysfunctional or unhealthy in his life. And what you have to do is figure out whether or not he has some medical issues for which he should get whatever medical help he needs to balance his chemicals, mental chemicals, so that he can make a rational decision for himself, or whether or not it's emotional, in which case we don't want to take away emotions. We just want to learn to manage and channel them. And that's a skill that he can learn working with someone who can help him his identify when you're angry, identify when you're afraid, identify when you feel insecure, identify when you feel claustrophobic, identify when you feel anxiety, and these are the steps you can take to mitigate it or to channel it in a positive way. Him being saved is a separate reality because he could be saved and still have those same issues. That's what I'm speaking to, because sometimes people think if you just had Jesus, all that would go away. But being a Christian is not about your behavior. So you can still have the same behavior. That's why we got to get out of that religious teaching, because some people think, well, if he said he was saved, how come he did that? Because he's got a hole in his soul in that area. And through that hole in his soul, he walked into temptation instead of walking away from it. It's that simple. Has nothing to do with him being saved. Yes, the Lord restores our soul, but that's a progressive reality that has to happen in our lives as Christ comes in and begins to disassemble the things that were there and assemble the truth that will make us free. So he could be saved. He could get saved today and be acting the same anxious way that he was acting yesterday. So for his salvation, you don't want to pray that he gets saved so you can fix his anxiety and fix his other legitimate issues. You want him to be saved so that he is connected to his creator, so that he is not eternally lost, so that he is no longer living in this world as an orphan. And so for each one of my children, I have prayed that they would be saved, and each one of my grandchildren, I pray that they be saved because they were born to be born again. But being born again doesn't mean that now I'm going to expect that their behavior is changed, because their behavior may just be a function of them not having the skills that they need to have in order to deal with their emotions. So I hope that helped you understand those different levels and how, lower level, healthy level, and the kingdom level, and how it's not necessarily just a matter of getting saved, but it's also a matter of getting healed. And both of those things need to happen. I extend my hand right now towards you and your family. I pray for you and your son. I thank you for the question. I ask you, Father, in the name of Yeshua, to bring salvation to that house. Whoever asked that question, bring salvation to that house. I pray, Father, for the son to be saved and filled with the Holy Spirit. I pray for the parents to be saved and filled with the Holy Spirit. And if they are, to just be built up in the grace and purpose of God, to be just unleashed upon the world. I pray, Father, that you would bind Satan, every demonic force that has come against that house, and that you would cause them to experience the peace and the presence of God. And I pray, Father, that when it is all said and done, that they would turn around and give you the praise, honor, and glory, and that others would glorify your name because of the good thing that you have done in them. In the name of Yeshua, we thank you for that.